People sometimes forget one of the great benefits of working a shitty job. You can always blame someone else. Something goes wrong, there's probably someone else around whose fault it could be. Someone gets the wrong thing to you, it's their fault. You get the wrong thing to someone else, someone requested it wrong. You can always find a reason to blame your job if it's crappy enough. Likely because you have no influence over it. If you're playing a game of Chinese telephone and you end up telling the next one in line that the red armadillo has a very cute nose and everybody laughs at you, you can always point to the one before you and say, that's where I got it from. The curse of having better tools is that they give you the ability to take on more than you would usually do. Suddenly, you can take up a lot more of the tasks done by other people. And suddenly, that line of people to blame grows disturbingly shorter. I already talked in another video about how artists are never done with their art. They just accept at some point that they have to let it go, that they have to put an end to it and let others enjoy it in whatever form it has taken. These artists rarely have the luxury of blaming others for their failures. If their artwork does not hold up, they bear the responsibility. There's plenty out there who will complain about people not understanding their art, but it is in the end their art. If it's not understood, then it wasn't that good. The long-term goal of my work here, the goal that this case is working towards, is a set of tools that will let anyone create their own fictional universe from scratch, based entirely upon their own vision of it. Well, that's a lot of responsibility to put on the shoulders of a creative person. There are stories that talk about how George Lucas was a very different person to work with in the original Star Wars movies and in the later prequels. In the original Star Wars movies, he had a humility forced upon him because he wasn't the big shot that he later became. And so he had to listen to other people. He had to take in other ideas. Later, after success had given him more control over his productions, he made the prequels with far more power to demand any changes he wanted. Many believe that this hurt the quality of the movies in the long run. I'm not one to say that they are wrong. Even working this case, I can feel it. I can feel the weight of being alone at the steering wheel of this bus. That, perhaps, is the biggest dilemma I'm looking at in this case. In all of this, the more I succeed, the more I push people into being alone with their creations. Depending on others, ironically, means that you get more input. When you're all alone with it, when there's no one to argue with, no one to tell you if you're right or wrong, then all you have to rely on is your own best guess. And I'm not just mentioning this as part of some kind of quality assurance debate. I'm not talking about this because I want to warn people against making dumb mistakes and thinking that they're too big to fail, thinking that because they have an idea, that idea will automatically succeed. I'm not here to warn against that. People know that already, or at least so I choose to assume. The main reason I'm bringing this up is that it's goddamn nerve-wracking. Just these little episodes are a burden on my nerves. Every sentence sets my mind spinning. Am I talking gibberish? Am I making sense? Am I worth listening to? Am I wasting people's time? Am I good enough? Is this good enough? It's hard to put into words the feelings that artists may get when they finally have to relinquish control over their creation and accept that this is as far as they go. This is what they have to present to others and let others judge them. And when you are you and nobody else, then there's nobody else to blame when things go wrong, when things take too long, when things do not come out as well as they were in your head, when things are not as good as you want them to be. This is the curse of the better tool. The better tool means that whatever you create more of it, and you have more of the responsibility for it. We're nearing the end of this case, of this run around the block. And even as I'm recording this, my mind is reminding me of all the limitations that I've realized were there, even if I suspected that I would be limited in what I could do. Facing the reality is a harsh mistress. The curse of the better tool. The curse of having the power to be the lone creator. Every idea that is put into a fictional universe. Every piece of media made from it. When you are creating it. When it is nothing but your baby. Everything that comes out falls on your shoulders. And that is not always an easy burden to carry. You may be your own worst critic. You may have problems when other critics take a shot at you. But this is what you have to deal with. Anyone can create a fictional universe. I stand by that. That is the purpose of this case. But not everybody can handle the burden that it is to be the sole creator of something. This might seem like a very emotional, very wishy-washy thing to think about. It's not very practical. There is no solution. There are no 4-step guides to handle it. But whoever does not keep this in mind will most likely run into a harsh wall at some point when reality strikes.